Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to listen to us presenters tonight. I'm very excited to be sharing with you my passion for grow biointensive sustainable mini farming. Yeah, for some of you, I might have talked your ear off about this already. At least tonight you have some slides to keep you occupied. Though a quick disclaimer about my presentation, I will be talking about conventional agriculture and how it is destroying our soil. However, I want to make it clear that I'm not talking about our local Bermuda farmers who work hard every day to bring us fresh local produce. Instead, I wish for my presentation to celebrate them and show that the knowledge that they have is vital for us to continue agriculture here in Bermuda. Who here likes to eat food? Well, what would you do if you had to grow all your own food in the next 5 years? But why I need to worry about that when I can just go to the grocery store and buy whatever I want? This question, which seems far-fetched to us here in Bermuda, is happening right now for much of the world's population. The fact of the matter is, we are in a global food crisis. 795 million of our human brothers and sisters, that's 1 out of 9, do not have access to enough food to live healthy, active lives. We must understand there's a finite amount of farmable land on the planet, and as population increases, the amount of farmable land available to each of us gets smaller. From left to right, we have the amount of farmable land needed for one vegan diet, one balanced diet, and a diet that includes animal products. By contrast, on the far right, we have the amount of available land that is available to all of us right now, to each person right now. This goes to show that our eating habits are simply not sustainable. We have forgotten about the soil. Nature already has a recycling process for all the nutrients found above ground back through the soil. Leaves fall, insects die, a bird might fly by and make a deposit, but all these are broken down by the microorganisms in the soil and fed back through the plant's roots. Farming disturbs this process. We clear away all the biodiversity you saw before and plant masses of one particular species. In this case with the corn, we eat the corn and the remaining plant material are fed to the animals. Nothing is returned to the soil. Year after year, more fertilizer and insecticides will be needed to grow the same crop. 6 pounds of soil is lost to wind and water erosion for every pound eaten in the United States using conventional mechanized agriculture. By contrast, grow biointensive sustainable mini farming has the capacity to grow up to 20 pounds of soil for every pound eaten. Grow biointensive gives me the hope that we can end this destruction and offers me a way to reconnect with the earth. You may have never heard of grow biointensive farming before, but maybe you've heard of permaculture. Both of these share similar techniques. I will now outline the 8 components that make up grow biointensive sustainable mini farming, which is based on thousands of years of farming knowledge. Double digging aerates the soil down 24 inches compared to the 6 inches that are loosened in conventional farming. Deep soil preparation increases soil surface area because the plant's roots can now grow down instead of across, enabling us to space the plants closer together, creating happy mini ecosystems. In composting, we share in nature's recycling process by layering kitchen scraps and weeds with more mature material, such as corn stalks and avocado leaves and some soil from the garden. It can be smelly business, but it's well worth it knowing you are returning much of the nutrients found above ground back into the growing beds. There are the same amount of lettuce planted in both garden patches. The garden on the top was planted using hexagonal close plant spacing, shading the precious soil beneath, while the mini deserts found in the pathways in the lower garden expose the soil to the sun, causing moisture loss and damages soil fertility. Plants are like people. Some just don't get along, while others create beneficial loving relationships, just like these basil and tomato plants send each other love vibrations. Companion planting also happens over time, where a crop that may take a lot out of the soil is followed by a crop that will give back to the soil. 60% of our growing area needs to be planted using carbon crops to ensure enough calories are being grown for us, while the rich carbon found in the plants are essential for building the 20 pounds of soil that we saw on the earlier slide. Next, we have high-calorie crops. These allow us to grow a large amount of calories in a small space. There you go. These include sweet potato, garlic, parsnips, salsify, and Jerusalem artichoke. The remaining 10% of the growing area is used for growing vegetables, which contain the remaining vitamins and minerals needed for a complete healthy diet. Open pollinated seeds are true to type and create a seed which has the same characteristics as its parents. This differs from hybrid seed, which have the potential for high yield in the first generation, but the seed collected from these plants are unpredictable, forcing the farmer to become dependent upon the seed company. The last component is whole system approach, which simply means if we remove one of these components from the system, we will not have continual high yields and increasing soil fertility. Sadly, here in Bermuda, we have completely forgotten how to grow food. We've become occupied with tourism and then with reinsurance. Let us now re-educate ourselves in the art of food raising. All we need is you. In order for sustainable agriculture to work, we all need to take ownership of our own food security. We can no longer leave the responsibility to the few farmers that are left. The time is now for us to take responsibility, for us to stop this destruction of Mother Earth and realize through her we are all interconnected. Maybe you have one of these in your property. Compost that Floratam and turn it into growing beds. To start off with, all you need to do is grow one bed well, and over time add more. You will need 5,000 square feet, including pathways, to grow all your own food. And over time, as your skill and soil fertility levels increase, less area is needed. Hundreds work in Bermuda in food distribution and grocery stores. These persons are part of the food system, but have never had their hands in the soil. Scientists are now finding that bacteria in the soil activate brain cells to create serotonin, working as an antidepressant. Land use is a very important issue. We develop and build like there's no tomorrow. We must start giving land back to the wild in order to increase biodiversity, because its health affects the health of the whole community. If this presentation has got you fired up and you want to learn more about Grow Biointensive, please see me afterwards, where I'll be collecting contact details in order to continue this discussion. We'll also be having a seed exchange at the hospital library on September 28th. You do not need to bring seeds in order to participate. This is a great way to come and connect with others that are growing their own food. All are welcome. Thank you very much.
How many people could Bermuda support if we were just to live on plants grown in Bermuda?
In front of all these people, I will not say what it is, because it has to do with a lot of different variables. Basically, here in Bermuda, we're blessed with being able to grow food all year round. So, for instance, I mentioned the 5,000 square feet needed for one person's diet. But this is maybe in a temperate climate where they'll have a winter where nothing is growing. Here, maybe you can cut that in half, being 2,500 square feet. I've taken a three-day workshop in Grow Biointensive in California, and they're working on units where they only use 800 square feet. So, I mean, I won't, if you use 800 square feet and with the arable land that you have right now, which is something you have to work out as well, because a lot of arable land is not being used right now because there's a lot less farmers over the last 50 to 100 years. So it's difficult. I mean, it's probably clear that we can't feed 65,000 people, but maybe we can feed 10,000 people. Or if you ask me later on, then I can talk to you more about that. Thank you.
Question?
What's your opinion on genetically modified seeds?
Very good, very good. Everybody's very excited about your question. That was, what do I feel about genetically modified seeds? Well, we get really excited about it, but I don't think it's something that's going to continue on, because especially a lot of the genetically modified food is not being grown for us. It's being grown for animal agriculture. That's chickens that are making eggs. That's dairy cows that are making milk and beef, pork. That's mostly who's eating the genetically modified food. So I don't know. That's a really big issue, and which has to do with animal agriculture, which is maybe another presentation. Definitely a very big no-no, and it's going to cause a lot of harm in the future, and it's allowing for big masses of land. If you look into what's happening in the Amazon right now, where 1 acre of rainforest is being cleared every minute. This is in order to increase animal agriculture in Brazil. They're using the land to raise the animals and also to grow soybean and corn and all the other crops for the animals, which are genetically modified. So, yeah, it's a very big evil and destroying our earth right now.
Hi, Chris. I really loved the presentation. It was really good.
Thank you, Scott.
So the question is, in Bermuda, quite often you see people talk about how expensive it is to live on the island, the cost of food and things. When it comes to vegetables and fruits and like that, is there like a list of what, in terms of what you spend on your dollar, the most effective plants or fruits, vegetables, in terms of nutrients and that sort of value? I mean, because quite often you go to the shop and there's all sorts of stuff, and you go, well, where would I get my most bang for the buck type thing?
So, what's your question, Scott? Is there a list of vegetables in Bermuda in terms of nutrition?
Yeah, like, I mean, not such a list, but like,
Right.
what would you say in terms of people who would say, I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to buy stuff, and go, should I buy potatoes or carrots or?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. We typically in Bermuda, for a lot of us that have been growing vegetables in our backyard, and maybe we learned it from our parents, that's the thing. We've transitioned into farming vegetables, where before we were growing all our food. We don't live just on vegetables. We live on grains, on pulses, on lots of things, These are the things that we need to learn how to grow again, and not necessarily what we're saving money that we're not buying at the grocery store. It's really about, once again, communing with the earth, being able to grow your complete diet, not just vegetables, but all the other things, especially the carbon crops that we talked about before, is essential for being able to create a closed system of fertility and being able to grow your own food and actually save money, yeah.
Hi, Chris. One last question. For a starter grower, never grown anything before, but wants to get into it, what's the plant produce you would suggest, and what can they expect?
That's a very, very, very good question. That's if anybody is serious about that, then you can come see me afterwards, and I would definitely point you in the right direction. And a longer answer to this question, but if you want to start growing your own food, I would definitely go to Aberfeldy or other green garden centers that have planting guides. You can find planting guides on the government website. There's a lot of information out there. You want to start with the planting guide so I'm in August. Here we're getting ready for fall. So you just need to start sowing seed for cold crops and start almost doing onions and stuff like that. Fava beans is going to be coming up. So definitely getting in touch with crop rotation that happens in Bermuda and then going from there. Starting with a very small area. Like I said in the slide, one bed, when grow biointensive, one bed is 100 square feet. That can be 20 by 5 or 25 by 4. Maybe you don't even need to start so big, because those areas you might even have in your yard. So starting off with one area and learning how to grow 1 or 2 crops well, and then expanding from there. Not trying to grow everything that you have in your grocery store all at once, because failure will be a guarantee.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you.
Get another round of applause for this guy.